JTS, Jets. What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Jets Ward. I am your host, Ryan Ward, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys today. In this video, I have a fun one for you. But before we get to it, if you have been here before, welcome back. You know I always love having you guys here in the Jets Ward. No matter if you're a fan of the Jets or any other team or just a casual NFL fan, you're always welcome here. Same goes for the new ones that are here. Thank you so much for joining me in the Jets Ward today. And again, like I just said, thank you for, if you're new here, welcome. If you're a Jets fan or a fan of another team or just a casual NFL fan, you are always welcome here in the Jets Ward, no matter what. It is a safe space for you, and I always appreciate your help and support. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. But getting into it, now, guys, training camp is right around the corner, and it's coming up quick for all of our teams. Rookies are going to report. The team is going to report. Coaches are going to get back into it. People are going to be able to hit each other at this point as practices get going on. The season is coming back really, really quick. But this offseason has been very interesting so far. Some big names have been being traded. Some big names have been holding out. Players are getting signed to bigger contracts as well. But what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to focus on the AFC and talk about shocking trade options for every AFC team. Now, do I think these trades are going to take place? Some maybe, but other ones it would be very, very shocking. For example, like Jonnu Smith getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Jalen Ramsey as well as a package deal. Now, the shocking part about Jalen Ramsey going there was I didn't think they were going to trade for another cornerback. I knew they wanted Jonnu Smith, but for Jalen Ramsey, too, that was a shocking one in my opinion. I knew he was going to get traded, but I did not see the Pittsburgh Steelers being the option for him. But that just goes for a lot of different players that could possibly get traded. There have been players holding out all along in the AFC. Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, all of these players. And getting into it, the first player that I'm going to put on here for a shocking trade option for this team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to say TJ Watt. Now, he's edge rusher, plays outside linebacker for them, can be a down edge rusher as well, a defensive end. He can play everything. And when he's healthy, he is one of the most dominant edge rushers in the NFL, period. There is no stopping this guy, honestly. But he has dealt with injuries in his career before. He dealt with injuries last year, and he missed some time. And there have been issues. He's holding out for a better contract. He wants to be the highest non-QB in the NFL, which would be looking at like $40 million a year. Myles Garrett just got a monster contract with the Browns. TJ Watt wants to be given more. Now, and that's interesting for TJ Watt. He's a great player, but the Steelers, apparently there were rumors out that came out that said when they drafted him, you're lucky to be a Steeler. He responded, you're lucky to have me. And now there's this tension growing, and it doesn't seem like a deal is imminent on any side. It seems like the tensions are boiling over. Will a deal get done? I honestly think it will. He's too good of a player to pass up. This is a win-now team in Pittsburgh. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got DK Metcalf. You got Jalen Ramsey. You got Jonnu Smith. You have all these pieces right now. Cam Hayward not getting any younger either. Bring back your best player. TJ Watt is your best player, and the defense is notably worse when he's not on the field. When he got injured last year, it was obvious they were missing a very important piece. And now you just traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, another shocking player that got traded. You've traded him. He was your other best player on defense, and now he's back with the Miami Dolphins. So TJ Watt, in my opinion, would be a very shocking trade option for the Steelers. Do I see it happening? Percentage-wise, maybe like 15%. I honestly don't think he's going anywhere. But what could the Steelers get for him? I think they could get a first-round pick. Or if they don't get that, they could get multiple. They could get second-round picks, third-round picks. They could get a lot for him, honestly. Now, does it happen? I don't know, but this would be a shocking trade option that the Steelers do have. And then going into the next one, we're going to continue with the division. I got Shamar Stewart from the Bengals. This is a really interesting situation which is going on here, in my opinion. Shamar Stewart was the first-round pick drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he was a very, what should I say? He didn't have a lot of results in college, but one of the big things he got pressure on almost every snap. He was all the time in the backfield. Problem was he never made it home quick enough. So he doesn't have the sack numbers or anything like that, but overall, he's a really good talent. Bengals were really hoping that he'd be there. The problem is there's issues in his contract, the wording in his contract that he doesn't like. And Cincinnati and him are not willing to make a deal. And there seems like really angry tensions going on between those two, especially now when Trey Hendrickson is holding out for a better contract. And now your rookie that was supposed to be the other edge on the other side of the ball is not showing up. There are big issues. Could they trade him? Honestly, they could. I think it's more likely that the Bengals would trade him than the Steelers would trade T.J. Watt. This kid's an unproven commodity in the NFL. Nobody knows what he is. They're hoping that he can be something really good, but you don't know. He's a rookie. Another thing is, too, he could, if they don't get a deal done within the year, he could just go right back into the draft next year and another team could take him. Or they could trade his rights to another team. I think it's more likely that he would get traded, but does it happen? I don't think so. I think they get him done. They get a deal for him and Trey Hendrickson done. I think they work on that wording a little bit and get him into the building because the talent is there for him. And he could be an explosive player in this league. Bring him in. It's only an embarrassing thing for the Bengals, in my opinion, that this issue has been going on for this long. So Shamar Stewart is the player, a shocking candidate for the Bengals, in my opinion, to be traded. Getting into the next one, we're going to continue in the division, and I'm going to go to the Ravens. And this is a player that hasn't really been talked about a lot. And Ravens fans will probably disagree with me, but I think Odafe Owe, linebacker and edge rusher, could technically be a shocking trade option for them as well. And the reason for that, they have some solid linebackers. He's a sub linebacker on that team and an edge rusher in passing situations. He had over 10 sacks last year, which was great, 20-plus tackles as well. But he's a pass rushing specialist. Guess who they just drafted? They drafted Mike Green, who was looked at as being one of the best edge rushers in this draft, one of the more explosive ones, as long as you keep your head on straight. Odafe Owe, I think he's still young, which is really good, but they could possibly get something from him if Mike Green is showing that explosiveness and that really good play that they're thinking it can be. I think Odafe Owe would become expendable and they could get some good picks for him. So do they trade him? I doubt it, but that Odafe Owe is my Baltimore Ravens shocking trade option. And would it be? I think it would be very shocking if they got rid of him. Very young, solid player, 10 sack season previously. It would be interesting to see if the Ravens would be willing to part with him and what they could get for him. And continuing on, traveling to Cleveland, we get David Njoku. I don't think this one is as big of a shocker. They did just draft the tight end from Bowling Green as well, who has a lot of similar talents like David Njoku has. David Njoku is getting older as well. He's still a solid pass catcher. He's okay in the blocking game, but they just drafted the tight end from Bowling Green, who's younger and who has a similar play style to David Njoku. I think they'd be willing to trade him, and there are a lot of teams who would be interested in trading for an experienced tight end. Some that need tight ends. Jacksonville could use an experienced tight end like him. I think Trevor Lawrence and him would go off together. Could the Jets do it? Jets do love throwing the tight ends, especially now with Justin Fields as the quarterback, and he'd be the most experienced one in that room. That would make sense in my opinion, but David Njoku, I feel like this is not as big of a shocker, but it would be an interesting play if they were to trade David Njoku because there's been rumors about him getting traded for the past couple of years now. So do the Browns actually end up trading him, which they possibly could if they're in a rebuild, which they could be, depending on how the season goes for them. And continuing on, moving to another division, we're going to get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I have Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of Jaguars fans might not like it, but there were rumors last year in the offseason when he got hurt. Leading into this offseason, could the Jaguars part with him? They have Cohen as their new head coach. He's not loyal to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has a monster contract, but he has not performed up to that contract. Dealt with a lot of injuries last year, and when he's been on the field, he's been very inconsistent. He's still a young player, and I think there's a lot of talent still there. But if the Jaguars struggle, they could be in for a severe rebuild. Would Cohen trust Trevor Lawrence to be the quarterback going into the future? He might want his own guy. That's the biggest thing. So Trevor Lawrence could be an option on the trade market if the Jaguars do struggle this year, especially if he struggles as well. I think he's going to have a bounce-back year, but overall in Jacksonville, if they do struggle, which they could, I think Trevor Lawrence could be a viable trade option, and they could get a lot for him, in my opinion. Now, continuing on, we get to the Titans, and this is a big one too. And there's a team that I would think would love to have this guy. Jeffrey Simmons is a monster on the Tennessee Titans defense. He's one of the best players, if not the best player on that defense. And there were rumors this offseason about him possibly getting traded to New England. That would make a ton of sense, in my opinion. They need defensive line help. They've improved their defensive line, but I think adding another DND tackle type of player like a Jeffrey Simmons would make a ton of sense for New England. Now, the more of a reason that it would make a lot of sense, look who the Patriots coach is, Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was there when they took this kid, and he loved having him on the defense, and Jeffrey Simmons was most dominant under Mike Vrabel when he was the head coach there. So honestly, I could a reunion, Harold Landry already went there, could a reunion with Jeffrey Simmons being traded there be an option for them too? I honestly think if the Titans do struggle, again, they have a new quarterback, they're in a rebuild situation. If they struggle again this year, Jeffrey Simmons could be on the trade block, and I think they could get a ton of stuff for him, depending on how his season's going. So I would sell high on him if I were the Titans, especially if they struggle. Now, going into the next one. Texans are a very hard one to pick. They don't have a lot of players. You could have put Kirk's, the new receiver they got there, Christian Kirk. I think they end up keeping him. They have two new young receivers there, so Christian Kirk's veteran leadership could become important there. But I picked Davis Mills. Everybody's looking for a quality backup quarterback in this league. If you have a quality backup, that's really good. There's other teams that could look at him and being like, he's got starter experience, and he was successful to some extent as a starting quarterback. They took C.J. Stroud, and he sort of got bumped to the back burner. Davis Mills is still a young quarterback, too, and he doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He can make plays with his arm. He's not the most mobile quarterback, but a team like the Saints could definitely use a player like Davis Mills as their starting quarterback. So I think Davis Mills could be an interesting or shocking trade option for the Houston Texans, and I think there'd be people interested in his services, either as a bridge quarterback or as a solid backup quarterback as well. And continuing on, we get to the Colts, and this is an interesting one for me. I mentioned it multiple times that I think Anthony Richardson could be on the trade block, and the reasoning for that, they signed Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones has been lighting it up in the offseason so far for the Colts. If Anthony Richardson loses his job to Daniel Jones, I think that makes them less hopeful for Anthony Richardson. I don't want to say the kid's got a ton of talent. He's very young still, but he's so inconsistent. And the effort, is he going to give you all the effort 100% of the time? I don't think the Colts are that trustworthy of him. So if Daniel Jones inevitably wins this starting QB job, that makes Anthony Richardson expendable. And I think there'd be a lot of teams that could look at him and be like, I can fix him. I can work on him. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Geno Smith. Quarterbacks that have rough beginnings of their careers. And now look at them. Some of the better quarterbacks in this league to this day. Anthony Richardson, I'm not saying he's going to be like that, but he could be a viable trade option for a team that loves the upside of him and thinks that they can get that out of him. Look, I'm hoping for Justin Fields to do that with the New York Jets. Could that be Anthony Richardson if he were to get traded as well? Possibly. But that would be my option for a trade, a player option to get traded for the Colts. Now, continuing on as well, getting into the Chiefs pick, I got Sky Moore. And the reason for that, he's still young. He's good when it comes to special teams, but I never think the Chiefs actually really utilized him. And they got players on that team that are very, very similar to what Sky Moore does. Xavier Worthy. They got Juju Smith-Schuster there. They got Hollywood Brown. They've got Rashid Rice. They have all these players that do similar things to what Sky Moore does. And Sky Moore can't get himself on the field. Even when they were dealing with a lot of injuries last year, Sky Moore dealt with his own injuries, but it just never seems like he's fully found it. Maybe a new opportunity with a different team could really help him. So I could see Sky Moore being that trade option for the Kansas City Chiefs. Continuing on, we get into the Broncos. And this has been a rumor this whole offseason about what they're going to do with John Franklin Myers, and that is the Broncos. Could John Franklin Myers be a trade option? I've mentioned it before that I think he would fit really good with the Packers. I think they could use a lot of veteran leadership on that defensive line and get another pass rusher. John Franklin Myers was had 10 sacks last year and has turned his career around and became one of the more dominant defensive tackles / ends in the league. Now, his contract with the Broncos might hurt them in a little bit, so that could be a reason why they would want to trade him, but he would be a very hot commodity if he were to be put on the trade block, and could be a very valuable trade chip for the Broncos. So he could definitely be a trade option for the Denver Broncos, in my opinion. Continuing on, Quentin Johnston. A lot of people in the Colts or in the Chargers room say that he's due for a breakout year. I honestly think that could be coach speak and GM speak, probably trying to boost his value. I honestly think the wide receivers that they have there, they have a lot of receivers in that room. Quentin Johnston could be expendable. I know he's a younger receiver. I understand he's dealt with a lot of drop issues as well last year. If he can work on that, he can be a solid receiver. But with the amount of receivers in that room, I think Quentin Johnston is expendable, and I think there'd be a team that would be interested in trading for him. Maybe I would say the Raiders. I don't think they'd want to trade it to a division rival. Maybe the Jaguars asking for a third receiver to go along with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. That could be an option. There are a lot of teams that I think could be interested in his services. But Quentin Johnston is somebody who I could see being the trade option for the Chargers if things were to happen, if they got the right offer. Continuing on, we get to the Raiders. I have Aiden O'Connell. They just traded for Geno Smith and gave him an extension. Aiden O'Connell became expendable. Do they want to keep him as a backup? They could. But honestly, he's still a young quarterback, has starting experience. Trade him to a team that is in desperate need for a quarterback. Again, the Saints, who are in desperate need of a quarterback. You could trade him to the Vikings, who, if J.J. McCarthy doesn't do well, you can put in Aiden O'Connell, or they have Sam Howell there too, which is interesting. But I think Aiden O'Connell at this point has shown more than Sam Howell. So Aiden O'Connell will become a trade option for the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's my option for them. Going into the next one, for the Bills, I got Dalton Kincaid. And I have Dalton Kincaid as one of the breakout players for me this year for the Bills. The issue is, right now, they're looking at Dawson Knox as their starting tight end. Dalton Kincaid had a down year last year. Let's be real. Dawson Knox really showed up big for the Bills in some big spots last year. Dalton Kincaid, I think, can take that next step. He's a really good matchup nightmare for the Bills when it comes to the receiving game. Does not do much in blocking. It's a similar conversation to Kyle Pitts for the Falcons. Can be a matchup nightmare. Does not give you much in the blocking game. Dalton Kincaid's younger, and I think Dalton Kincaid could be a very shocking option for a trade for if the Bills wanted to make a splashy move to increase in some part of their team. Maybe linebacking core if they wanted to. I know Matt Milano's getting a little older and has dealt with some injuries. Could they get some help for him just in case he went down to solidify that linebacking core even more? So that's interesting here. Dalton Kincaid for my option for the Bills could be a very shocking trade option for them, but I think it could be possible. Heck, teams are interested in tight ends. He could be a very valuable option if the Bills were willing to shop him. Continuing on, we get to the Dolphins, and this is an interesting one. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's been on this trade option for a long time. He's getting older. He's still a very fast receiver, but again, getting older, has had some off-the-field issues and everything, so you never know when it's going to get too serious where he's not going to be able to play because he's getting suspended. But do his antics off the field, keep him valuable for the Dolphins. I think with the age and everything, he's had some durability concerns and the off-field issues. I honestly think Tyreek Hill could still fetch the Dolphins a very good price, could get them some good draft capital. And if the Dolphins do struggle, I could see them in a rebuild. I thought about Jalen Waddle because he's also dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, but I think they really like him and value him there, and I don't think they would be willing to trade him. Tyreek Hill, I think, is more of a plausible trade option for the Miami Dolphins. And this has been a rumor all offseason as well. Now, continuing on, we get to the New York Jets. Now, I will be fully honest with you guys. Originally, I had Quincy Williams on this list. If the Jets really do struggle, Quincy Williams is on the end of his contract. I honestly think he could be a trade option as well, especially if the Jets season goes south right away. They have a new coaching staff, new GM. They're not loyal to a lot of these players on this team. This is a testing out season for the New York Jets. I think they have a lot of talent, Quincy Williams being one of them, but I would be shocked if they traded him. The one person I also think could be a very valuable trade option and a shocking one. Tony Adams. I think it's more likely he could get cut, but he's still young. Had a very down year last year for the New York Jets. But another team who's interested in strong safety help or safety help in general could look at Tony Adams and say he's still young and has traits that we really like in our defensive backs. So Tony Adams is the guy I have on here, but I could have arguably put Quincy Williams on here as well, but I think Tony Adams is the more likely pick for the Jets for a trade option. And the last one, I got the New England Patriots. I got Demario Douglas. And a lot of people could argue, why would you trade Demario Douglas? He's wide receiver 2 on this team right now. The reason I think he could be a shocking trade option for the New England Patriots is they have Jalen Polk there too, who's a very young receiver who they're hoping can break out as well. And they have some younger receivers on that team that they hope could break out as well. Demario Douglas is still young, but I think he could fetch a pretty penny for the New England Patriots. And I think if they were offered something very valuable for him, I honestly think they would take it and they would accept it. Especially if, and I've been saying this for a lot of teams, if the Patriots do struggle, if they do have a setback this year, they might be willing to part with some pieces. And Demario Douglas, in my opinion, could be one of those pieces that they could part with. Now, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Are there other shocking trade options that you think could be in place for all of these AFC teams? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys doing that. Make sure as well, I put on a recent series on power ranking all of the offensive line groups for every division, leading into a live stream that I will be doing tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Please join in for that. I always love doing these live streams at 9 o'clock. It's always these power rankings, and I love just hanging out with you guys, chatting it up with you guys in the chat. And I love hearing your opinions as well. Make sure you watch that series. Make sure you like this video as well and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And guys, like I say in every video, thank you so much for joining me in the JETS Jets Ward. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.